Good morning. You're joining us live here on India Today's social media handles. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, back this morning to get you a roundup of all the top stories that we're tracking. Let me begin with the Prime Minister's Day 2 in Tokyo. The reason today is very significant is already in the last few hours you've had the Quad Summit happening. For all the unrest out here on this broadcast, I just want to tell you that the Quad is essentially an alliance of 4 countries: India, Japan, Australia and the United States of America. So you had Prime Minister Modi in attendance along with the Japanese Prime Minister. You had the Australian Prime Minister, newly elected Anthony Albanese, who was sworn in just barely 24 hours before he touched down in Tokyo. And then you have the US President Joe Biden also in attendance. So early this morning at about 7 a.m. is when the Quad Summit meeting actually happened, the second in-person meet that's happening between these world leaders. And perhaps one of the biggest takeaways for someone like me who was watching that video and reporting live from our studios on what was happening is the kind of bonhomie between these leaders. The moment they were together, you saw Prime Minister Modi kind of breaking the ice with the newly elected Australian Prime Minister. All of them were in a group huddled together, laughing it out as well. The first handshake between Prime Minister Modi and the US President happened just then. There was that photo op, after which there was an elaborate about 2-hour-long closed-door meeting also that happened. Opening remarks of the Prime Minister gave us a sense of where things stand and how the Quad has progressed in the last few months, because the Prime Minister said that I'm happy to be among friends. That kind of a sentiment, that relation clearly oozed through in the pictures also that were received. The Prime Minister also highlighted that Quad has achieved several highs in the last few months and very rapidly at that. A sentiment that was also echoed by the US President, who highlighted particularly about what the US would be hoping to focus on, the Ukraine war. He also went on to condemn Russia, something that India doesn't agree with. There was no statement with regards to Russia by India because our foreign policy is very clear on the matter. It's been acknowledged, recognized and accepted by the United States, by Japan and by Australia, and that by itself is a very significant milestone. But as far as the Quad Summit itself is concerned, what are the big tangible takeaways? Well, there was in fact a lot of discussion on maritime security, because this is the Indo-Pacific that we're talking about. So very important messaging on maritime security. One, that China will not be happy about again, because they've been very aggressive with Japan as well. They've been very aggressive with us as well. So the Quad Summit essentially is messaging, and a harsh one, a warning being sent out to China that here are big world powers coming together on one stage, which is why China has always verily looked upon this particular alliance. But besides maritime security, several other sectors, the health sector, post-COVID cooperation, that was discussed in great detail, vaccines, and also importantly on education. A Quad fellowship has been set up where students will be handpicked from India, from Japan, Australia. Their education, their master, their graduate degree will be sponsored for a study in the United States. So that's a big takeaway also from the Quad Summit. We're still awaiting the detailed statement that will give us a sense of all that was discussed. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, considering all the focus on China and what they'll be making of this kind of a meeting, can we expect something with regards to China being mentioned in the detailed statement? Well, the joint statement, not really. Never has the Quad named China, but whatever they decide will have consequences on Beijing, which is why China has always been very wary of this alliance, has referred to them as a failed agenda, etc. But besides the Quad Summit also, there will be a number of key meetings that the Prime Minister will be taking a part in today. He's going to be holding bilaterals, one-on-ones, sitting across the leaders of Japan, Australia and the United States of America. And perhaps the bilateral that everyone's going to be watching out for is the one between Prime Minister Modi and POTUS Biden. There are going to be significant takeaways, significant decisions that are taken with regards to furthering Indo-US ties. Things have been going very well as far as India and American relations are concerned, and this meeting will be to further that as well. So for that handshake, all the latest pictures of the Prime Minister's Tokyo visit, be sure to tune into us here on India Today. What are the other stories that we're tracking this morning? Let me just round up for you the other big story with regards to the Gyanvapi Mosque controversy. Today, the Varanasi District Court will be taking up the matter. There's a lot of talk that there'll be a verdict. Now, let me just clarify that the verdict is not on the entire issue, but on how the court will take matters forward, which petitions will be heard first, etc. So, essentially, they're going to give us a blueprint, a map of what this hearing is going to look like, how it's going to take shape in the coming days and in the coming week. So that's what you can expect in the Gyan Vapi controversy. I want to take you through what's happening with regards to the Qutub Minar issue. If you're not sure of exactly what I'm talking about, for years now, for decades, there's been this entire talk and proof really of how a Hindu temple and a Jain temple were demolished to make way for a mosque within the Qutub Minar complex, and that some of the material from these temples were actually used to build this mosque. It's something that's well factored in, well referenced to by the Archaeological Survey of India as well. So that issue is back in the focus. It comes up in the Delhi court today, where essentially the issue has been brought up again. The Archaeological Survey of India has stopped allowing Muslims to offer namaz within the Qutub complex till this hearing is done. So today, namaz cannot be offered inside the mosque within the Qutub Minar. But this is a controversy that's now spread from places of worship to iconic monuments. Taj Mahal, there's that chorus, of course, to rename it as Tejo Mahal, Qutub Minar now. There's this entire talk of how they were temples demolished and how we need to bring that back. So we'll see how that plays out in a Delhi court. What does the court have to say about this matter, and what happens in the road ahead in the Qutub Minar as well? Will namaz be allowed post this? Will the mosque be allowed to be open or not? That story we're tracking very closely here on India Today as well. One last story that I want to tell you about, which I've been seeing a lot of talk on social media, which has been also trending through yesterday and today. A video that came to light from Kerala, from Alappuzha, which was from a PFI rally, which happened on Saturday. Now, in this rally, there was a little child hoisted upon a man's shoulders, screaming at the top of his lungs slogans, which can be referred to as nothing but hate chants, because they're issuing violent warnings to members of Hindu and Christian community. And this is scary to say the least. Essentially, you're saying Lord Yama, the Lord of Death, is coming for you, and chanting these slogans. He's leading it, and the others chant along with him. This is a little kid we're talking about. It's obviously triggered a lot of controversy because PFI has been accused in several cases before. There's endless controversy over them. But the fact that a little child is being used to send out a message of hate, to spread their propaganda, has led to endless outrage. There was a lot of controversy, a lot of questions that were being asked of the Pinarayi Vijayan government as well about the law and order, about a free hand being given to PFI. And there were a lot of questions about why they haven't acted in this particular case, because mind you, it happened on Saturday. Now, because of all of the outrage, since we here on India Today also aired this footage, there's been a lot of talk about it, a lot of pressure on the Kerala government, and the cops in the latest action has taken one person into custody. They've named the Alappuzha PFI district unit head and the secretary as the first and second accused in this case. So let's hope there's proper action taken, because the PFI so far has maintained that, we're not referring to Hindus and Christians. This is a warning to terrorists, to Hindutva extremists. This child wasn't part of our rally. He was there, on his own, etc. So the PFI is trying to cover its tracks here. But the need of the hour, no doubt, is to send out a resounding message that this kind of propaganda, this kind of hate is simply unacceptable. So those are in fact some of the stories that we're tracking very closely this morning. There's much more that you can track on our website and also on our social media handles. Same time tomorrow, I'll be joining you with the top stories. Thanks for the moment for watching.